Welcome back, Tubers of You. Today I've got a little adventure, pretty small one, hopefully, but last night I ran out of water for the first time since I've been down in Arizona. And usually running out of water isn't too big of a problem. For one, water usually lasts me like about a month or so. So like when you think about it that way, I only have to fill up 12 times a year. It's not that bad. So people always ask like where I get water from. Well, a lot of times, like I happen to be near friends or family in the area, I can fill up there. Otherwise, a lot of times you just find water at public parks and stuff like that. But what I've come to find out is that the park system in Tucson is not very nice. There are some parks and whatnot, but like compared to other places I've been, they are pretty dumpy. We'll just put it that way. There's also a pretty large homeless population down here. Which, I mean, not saying anything negative about it. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, but the parks aren't very well maintained, and I'm sure that's part of it. But the other thing is, since this is down in the desert, I guess, I don't know if that's the main reason or what, but water is hard to find. Like, usually it's not difficult at all for me to just find a water spigot at a park or something. But I was looking on my app, iOverlander, to see if I could find any water spots around. And I found some, but most of them are like drinking water, like where you fill up like jugs and stuff, you know? Like I need to fill up a 42-gallon tank. So A, there's nowhere to like hook up a hose on most of them. And B, most of them also charge like by the gallon. And I've never had to pay for water before. I'm not trying to necessarily pay for it now. I mean, I would if I had to, but I did some thorough searching on the app and finally came to the conclusion that this truck stop clear over about 15 miles away from where I'm at is going to be our best bet because it's confirmed potable water. I don't got to worry about dying. And it's also free. So instead of just dilly-dallying all around back and forth across town and ending up there anyway, I'm just going to go straight there. And you guys can just come along and I'll give you a little update on the way there. So there's been several issues with the van lately. I mean, just the most recent one, just yesterday, I'm just driving down the road and my glove box literally just falls off. Like the entire thing just falls onto the floor. So luckily I was able to fix that today. So just basically like there was a screw that held it in and the plastic that like that screw screwed into, just the hole like blew out. So I had to make a washer out of a penny to hold that thing in there. Now it's rock solid, we're good to go. So easy fix, no big deal there. I'm not too stressed about that one. But then a couple days ago, like in the last video, I mentioned that I was having some, oh geez, there's a bad accident. Glass everywhere. Here's coolant on the ground. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little distracted, but safe driving is priority number one. So like I was saying in that video, I've been having issues with the power system, and even just the fact that my power, like my battery level was that low to begin with, it was like 36 or something. I'm usually riding around at like 98, 99, like all the time. But later on, I think it was that night, maybe the next day, I don't know. I lost power completely. Like everything just shut off, died. Well guys, luckily I have one singular candle and the USB fan has an LED light that I've literally never had to use, but I have completely lost power in the van. So the inverter problems have only been getting worse. I was planning on tomorrow, actually, not even kidding you, tomorrow I was going to dig into this. And yeah, I had like 35% battery according to the battery monitor. And then all of a sudden just everything shut down. I checked my fuses, turned everything on and off, just basic stuff, you know, from what I can easily do. And nothing happened. So hopefully tomorrow I can figure something out and maybe they just died. Maybe the monitor was off and it wasn't actually at 35. I don't know, but hoping I don't have to replace them because I've got 600 amp hours of battery, and lithium batteries. And if you know anything about those, they ain't cheap. So I'd really rather not have to replace them, but try not to get too worried about it too soon. So we'll see. So here's the update on the power system. Luckily, when I woke up this morning and just turned the key in the ignition, all the power turned back on. And the battery was back at 35%, like I thought is what it was at when it died. So obviously something's going on, like battery monitor, 35%, it was dead, I don't know. So I came over to Wobig's, plugged in, and have been charging. And so far, everything seems to work normal. I used the oven already, and I'm currently using the stovetop. But we're still having the problem of when I turn on the oven, there it goes. So after that long day of trying to figure out what was going wrong, I basically came to the conclusion of I still don't know what the hell is going on. I am starting to think that my batteries themselves are just getting worn out and they're not at full capacity anymore. That coupled with, I just cleaned my solar panels today. They were covered in a layer of dust. So I think that that's also been a factor, is I just haven't been charging up throughout the day near as efficiently as I'm supposed to be able to. So hopefully now that I've cleaned those off, we see some boost in charging today. Sun is out, so it should be a pretty good test of it, but we'll see. Forgot to latch a drawer. Oops. Then the other thing is I just was doing just a normal check, just make sure all my fluids were good, and noticed that my coolant reservoir was completely empty. So obviously I immediately panicked. I'm like, oh God, like my radiator cracked, like, do I got a head gasket leaking? Like what could possibly, like, coolant shouldn't just disappear like that. And I believe I ended up finding the leak, and it was very simple. Literally just something came loose. I just tightened it back up, topped off with coolant, and so far so good. So let's hope that's the end of that. But on the same topic of the sun being out and solar and whatnot, that kind of leads me into my next topic that I wanted to bring up to you guys. So a couple videos ago, I mentioned that I started applying to jobs in Alaska. And I also mentioned in the last video that I had an interview for a part-time job here. Man, has a lot gone on. I've been very busy doing my side jobs, doing my new jobs, and also just trying to edit videos and whatnot. I've been a little overwhelmed, so I haven't been filming and keeping up on the updates as well. But long story short, the first job that I got, I'm already gone. I already quit. I worked one shift, and it was an absolute joke. To begin with, you guys know. If you don't know, go watch that episode. But like, even just the way he called me the day before, said that was going to be the last day, and then called me the next day, whatever. But then my very first shift, my manager calls me like 45 minutes before my shift is supposed to start and asks if I can come in an hour later because he's running late. So I'm like, okay, like I'll take that as a yellow flag, like maybe I just caught him on a weird day, whatever. No, dude, the management there is an absolute joke. Like, nobody has any idea what's going on. I showed up for my first day. Nobody even knew I was supposed to be there. I just did like computer training all day, and then like finally got to this point where the computer wasn't working, and my manager didn't know what to do, so he just like was like, all right, you can go home. And I was like, okay, I guess. And then I was like, so when do I come back? And he's like, I'm not sure, I'll just call you. Okay, I guess. So 9 days go by, 9 whole days go by before I get a phone call. And it's like 10:30 a.m. and I get a phone call, and he's like, hey man, do you think you could come in at 11? I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, like for your second day of training, do you think you could be in here at 11? I'm like, bro, it's 10:30 right now. Like, you're calling me with a 30-minute notice asking me to come in for a shift right now? Like, no, like that's not gonna happen. I'm not prepared for that. No, thank you. So I was like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. He's like, okay, well, I'll call you next time I got another shift for you. Still no schedule. I'm like, are you serious right now? Another 9 days goes by, 9 whole more days goes by, and he calls me and asks if I can come in for a shift in like a couple days or whatever. And I was just like, you know what, man, nah, like I'm not going. Like this is too much of a joke to even deal with. Like, this is a waste of my time. Like, you're wasting my time, and you're not paying me well to begin with at all anyway. So like, you're not paying me for patience, so I'm not gonna have any. So I dipped from that. But luckily, in that time period of all this joke of management going on, I did acquire the other part-time job, and things are great there. I get paid slightly better, still not great, but slightly better. But my coworkers are all super chill. My managers run things very smoothly. Everything is just easy. I've already got a schedule that's like set in stone. I mean, it's just night and day better. So they're giving me, I think I get like 28 hours a week there. So like, that's just enough where I'm getting a nice, good, consistent amount of income from that. But it also leaves enough wiggle room for me to schedule my my side jobs and stuff like that. So it's working out pretty perfect so far. But where that whole story was leading me on to is back to applying to Alaska jobs. I accepted a job in Alaska. So I accepted a job to be a Zodiac boat tour guide in Ketchikan, Alaska. If you don't know much about Alaska in general, or Ketchikan is an island that's about like halfway between where you think of like Alaska, like the big part of the state, and like Washington. It's like halfway between there in that string of islands. The only way to get there is by plane or by boat. So this bad girl is going to go on a ferry, and we're going to take that thing up to Alaska and spend the summer up there. And I'm pretty excited, but I'm also extremely nervous for a number of reasons. Number one, that ferry to get me there and to get me back is $1,300. Yeah, so the job pays okay, plus tips. I'm hoping the tips are nice, you know. I'm hoping I can woo my customers and get that going for me. I don't know. But it's definitely not paying enough that like that $1,300 is something to forget about. No, that's going to eat up a good chunk of what I'm going to make there. So I've got to keep that in mind. So that's a concern. Another concern, there's only 30 miles of road on that island. It's an island. I've never lived on an island before. I'm pretty nervous about living on an island. I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. But I think by far the biggest thing that I'm afraid of is that it rains over 50% of the days per month there. Like year round, it just rains like half the time. I'm not generally the biggest fan of rain. I mean, that's why I'm in Tucson. You know, I'm down here where it never rains. It's just sunshine all the time. So like, I'm a little nervous. When in my research, this is what scared me. In my research, I found that it's not uncommon for people to take the day off of work because the sun is out. That's saying something. If you're taking the day off of work just because the sun is out, like, it's got to be a special occasion. That's a little scary. So not just like the fact that it's going to be raining all the time and everything, but I use solar power to power my home. So not having the sun out is going to put quite the damper on my ability to charge up. So I'm hoping later this afternoon I can call the manager of the place and just kind of ask a few questions, make sure there's somewhere that I can park and plug in if need be every once in a while, and just those kind of things, you know. Just make sure that this is really what I want to commit to this summer. I mean, I did already sign like the contract, the employment agreement or whatever. Like, there's nothing like really holding me onto it other than me being a good person and my word. But I just want to make sure that this is what I want to do. I mean, I've been romanticizing and dreaming about Alaska for forever. I mean, since I was a kid. So like, this looks awesome. I'm very excited. But it's also such a different way of exploring Alaska than like I envisioned. I really envisioned driving up there, you know, and just taking the van all across everywhere there. But Alaska is such a massive state, and the vast majority of it is just untouched wilderness, that like there's not like a whole lot of just driving around you can really do, I guess. Like don't get me wrong, there is, but there's a lot of the state that you're not going to touch in the van is the way I'm trying to put it. So maybe this is the way to do it, you know, like isolate me in one area and really get to know it and really hopefully fall in love with it. We'll see. I don't really know what to expect. I've never been there. But I'm excited. I'm nervous, I'm excited, and I'm hopeful that this is just a great experience. The managers there seem really, really cool, and from what they're telling me, they pretty much, all their seasonal workers are between like 20 and 30 years old, you know, around my age, which I'm very excited for, because the Yellowstone job was very different. I was the youngest employee by probably 45 years. So I did not make any like cool friends to go hiking with or do any crazy shit with, I guess. And that's kind of what I'm hoping I get the opportunity in Ketchikan, is to run into some more like-minded individuals, I guess. But as excited as I am for Alaska, that job, my like supposed to start date is April 15th. The closest ferry to get me there leaves April 11th. So now it's bringing on the stress of, I wanted to do a bit of a road trip on my way up there, you know. I wanted to drive the scenic highway in California as much as possible. Well, there's a lot of fires there right now, so I don't know how much of that's going to be done. I want to go see the redwoods. I want to at least just check out a little bit of something in Washington and Oregon. even if it's just driving the coastline up there. I'm not really sure. But now, like, I'm kind of stressing because I've got to plan this road trip and figure out when I need to leave from here. Because I'm actually liking it here now, you know? Like, now I've got a job. I'm starting to meet people. Wobig has been getting big into Frolf again. I mean, we just played 3 rounds in the past 2 days. And his improvement has gone through the roof. We're just having a blast doing it. Obviously, I just enjoy being around my friend. But my time is quickly coming to an end here. Like, realistically, I'm going to be leaving here sometime in March, probably, if I got to be on a ferry by the 11th. And I mean, just in driving alone, it's about a 2-day drive to get up there almost. Like, with no stops, it's like 30-something hours. So I'm going to want to leave, like, at least with a week or 2 to give myself a little bit of time to explore up there. But I am liking it here, so I'm a little stressed, just trying to navigate all of that, I guess.